Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to part 2 of our lesson about properly formatting and punctuating quotations. Again, this is so important because whenever we write papers, we want to cite sources, we want to use good information to support our claims, and quotations are an excellent way to do that. What we're going to focus on in this lesson is the third way we can use a tagline. We learned about using taglines before and after a quotation. Now we're going to talk about using them actually in the middle of a quotation. Okay? Now there are two different ways to do this, so follow along closely with me. The first way is when we put the tagline in between two separate sentences, in between two independent or complete thoughts that the same person has. Okay? And in order to do this, we're going to actually use a period following the tagline and the beginning of the second complete sentence. Okay? And then, of course, we're going to capitalize that second complete sentence. So let's look at an example. "I can't wait to get to the mall," said Nija. "They have the best food court." Okay, just like before, first thing to do, identify that tagline. Again, obviously, who said it? Nija said it. Okay? We always want to hear what Nija has to say. So let's listen and pay attention to what she said. The first thing is, "I can't wait to get to the mall." So again, just like before, we're going to put a quotation mark around all those words that she says. Okay? Now she had more to say, but we definitely want to separate each separate section with its own set of quotation marks. Okay? We wouldn't want to put one here at the beginning and only one here at the end, because then that would tell us that the said Nija was part of what she actually said. And of course she's not going to say that. So we only put the quotation marks around the actual words that she said. Okay? Once we have our quotation marks around our two separate sections, then we have to decide, hey, is this first part an independent clause? Well, do we have a subject? Of course we do. I. Okay? Well, do we have a verb? Well, yeah, she can't wait. Okay, that's her verb. So we have a subject, verb, team, but then is it a complete thought? Well, I can't wait to get to the mall. Is that a complete sentence by itself? It certainly is. A subject, a verb, and it makes sense by itself. Okay, so we move on to the second part, and we have to identify, is this an independent clause or a dependent clause? Can it stand alone? Well, they have the best food court. Do we have a subject? Sure, they. And do we have a verb? Yeah, they have. What do? They have. Okay? And again, does it make sense by itself? They have the best food court. That sounds like a complete thought to me. So we know these are independent clauses. Okay? So again, similar punctuation as before. Just like when we talked about using a tagline after the quotation, we need that comma at the end of our quoted section, then our tagline. Now that's the end of the first sentence. So we have to put a period. Okay, it's the end of the first sentence because then we have another independent thought that again we're going to end at the end of the quoted section with our punctuation mark inside of the quotation. Okay, so we'll pause there, give you a chance to do some practice. Now that we've practiced that rule, we're going to talk about when the tagline splits only one complete sentence into two parts. Okay, so for this one, we only have one independent clause. Let's take a look. "I think," Precious added, "that we should get Italian food." Again, identify the tagline. Precious added. Again, identify the word she said. Put our quotations around it. And then we have to look on both sides of the tagline. "I think." Is this an independent clause? Do we have a subject? Sure. We have I. Do we have a verb? Yeah, we have think. Okay. Could we say "I think" and have it be a complete sentence? Actually, we could. So we're not sure right now. Is this an independent clause or a dependent clause? We need to read on to find out. The second part of what Precious added was that we should get Italian food. Okay? Is that an independent clause? No, it's not. Do we have a subject potentially? Could be we, right? Should get, that's our verb. But does this make sense by itself? That we should get some Italian food is not a complete thought. That tells me that the entire quotation is one sentence together. So in order to separate this, again, at the end of our first quoted section before the tagline, put the comma inside of the quotation mark. But then after the tagline, we need a comma. That's not the end of the sentence. So we use a comma instead of a period. And then at the very end here, we put our period. Okay? So we're going to take an opportunity to practice a couple, and then we'll take a look at our reminder during class.